Hi there again, everyone. Welcome to you all to the Gary Neville podcast. Hard on the heels of a hard-fought win for Manchester United over Liverpool.
Very much so. And I was just thinking there as we saw some of the Liverpool players walking off about both teams really in terms of where they're at. And I think Manchester United first, you'd have to say that this week, the Crystal Palace victory in terms of coming back and showing that spirit and character, but then here today to hold on in a very different way where they're actually having to defend for much of the second half and against the Liverpool team that were pressing and pressing and pressing. They'll take a lot of confidence from that. And I said a few weeks ago that Manchester United, it's important to finish the season well so that they can actually build some momentum. If you like, try and fit Sanchez, Rashford, Lukaku, Mata, Martial into a team and make them, in, rather than a group of individuals, be a team. And I think results like that will do a lot for the confidence of the dressing room in terms of hanging on. Very different than Monday night in terms of coming back where you have that elation, but there'll be a pride in there today. It's difficult. When Liverpool scored that first goal, I thought that was going to be Liverpool 2-2 or even Liverpool score again. I didn't know how United were going to change the game. Credit to Jose Mourinho. I think that the substitution of Fellaini wasn't the popular one. Wasn't probably one that many would make, but he made it and he did halt the progression of Liverpool. He just got a little bit of a grip in midfield. He took the game, or made the game a lot more difficult for Liverpool in that last 20 minutes. And they can take a lot of pride. Pride's the word that Jose Mourinho will feel. The spirit and pride of these last two matches will be important. And finishing second is important. It's important to finish second if you don't finish first. It cannot be a good season when Manchester United finish second, but they have to try and push Manchester City and get as close to them as possible.
When we sat down where we're sitting now on the gantry at Old Trafford, you said, I'm amazed at the selection from Manchester United, but it did look as though, obviously with Marcus Rashford coming back in, that Jose Mourinho should get a pat on the back for it.
Absolutely, I'm amazed because I just thought that we would see a Manchester United with three in midfield, pack the midfield, and for six.
Maybe with Pogba getting injured yesterday. Yeah.
Maybe, but with a Jose Mourinho against Manchester City here, the team surprised me. The team away at Arsenal surprised me. The team away at Tottenham surprised me. The team today surprised me. And I have to say that Jose Mourinho has been accused of parking the bus earlier on in the season at Anfield. He has not done that at this club in the last 6 months. He hasn't. There's no doubt today you could argue that he was resilient, they were compact, they were deep, but it wasn't parking the bus. That was a tactic to win the game. And there's a difference. There's a difference between a tactic to nullify an opponent where you just think there's actually no intent. There was intent today from Manchester United. Yes, they knew any team playing against this Liverpool team has to respect that front three and make sure there isn't space behind. You cannot play out of the back and open up your fullbacks too much because they've got the best back tacklers and the best defenders up front in the league. So the idea of them dropping deep didn't surprise me. The idea of dropping deep with those players was the one that surprised me. And I have to say that the selection of Rashford paid off in droves. He caused a problem for Alexander-Arnold from the first couple of minutes from the game in terms of making runs in behind him. And you look at Juan Mata coming into the team, Sanchez keeping in at number 10. It was a very attacking selection, and I know that Manchester United fans jokingly sing part of the bus, Manchester United, but it is a little bit of a joke now because the last 6 months I haven't seen it, and today United did play with intent even when they were defending in the second half.
Do you see Mourinho having to battle with his own desires of how to play the game and what people expect at a club, as it happened at Real Madrid, and what people expect here, which is not bus parking?
Absolutely. I think there is no doubt that when you look at the clubs that Jose Mourinho has managed, at Porto, at Chelsea, at Inter Milan, not as much Inter Milan, but at Porto and Chelsea, he was designing those clubs in terms of their philosophy, their values. I mean, Porto are a historic club, so are Chelsea, but he had the blank sheet of paper to go in there and do what he wanted. Where at Inter Milan, I think people accept in Italy that he can be a bit more pragmatic. Real Madrid and Manchester United, different kettle of fish. And I have to say that, in those two clubs, he has to adapt. He has to adapt his thoughts, the way in which he plays. And he's doing that. He's adapting to the club, he's adapting to the fans, the expectations. And also he's adapting to many things. I always think Manchester United, entertainment, young players, winning. If you think about Jose Mourinho, and he's always been accused of not bringing young players through. McTominay's played today, Rashford's played today, Lingard's come off the bench. You know, not many managers would give McTominay that game today after Monday night. So you have to say he's showing faith in products from the youth team. There was entertainment today, there was excitement going forward, and obviously Manchester United have won. So, you know, I think that Jose Mourinho's still coming to terms with the club, not in terms of the club, the size of it. He knows how to handle a big club, but just in terms of this squad and this team, to try and get them into something he likes. I said on Monday night against Crystal Palace, that performance in the first half, he wouldn't have liked that. No Manchester United fan would have liked that, but he wouldn't have liked that. They were all over the place, but he'll have loved the last game and a half. He'll have loved the resilience mixed with some skill, some goals, some entertainment, and that is a balanced team. So it's been a good week for Manchester United. The biggest game is still to come on Tuesday against Sevilla. I was asked before the game, would I rather have a defeat today and a victory on Tuesday as a Manchester United fan, or a victory today and a defeat on Tuesday? I said I'd rather have a defeat today and a victory on Tuesday, because ultimately today there is still some...
That says how important Tuesday is.
Tuesday's very important. I mean, you can never say you want to lose against Liverpool, but if you had to choose, Tuesday's a very important game, but they can go into it with a lot of confidence.
And Liverpool, who fought tooth and nail, gave away 2 bad goals from their point of view, but never gave up the fight.
No, I think that as I saw James Milner, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, a number of Liverpool players leaving the pitch. You can never say it's acceptable to lose to Manchester United. You can never say it's a good feeling, but they'll probably have as good a feeling as you could have in losing a game against Manchester United. They'll be desperately disappointed, as with Jurgen Klopp, but they'll point towards those 2 goals and say, well, they didn't cut us open, they didn't, you know, destroy us. It was 2 really poor goals, and we knocked at the door. We should have had 2 penalties. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp will say that they should have had 2 penalties. Whether they should have not is another matter, but there was certainly one of them, I think, was. And I have to say that for Jurgen Klopp, he'll sort of take the good out of that game. He won't come off there thinking my players aren't up to it playing at Old Trafford. They're not ready for this. They did play well. They dominated the ball. I did think that it was a worry in the first half, again through the centre of the defence, when you put pressure on them. I think in big games I've always worried. I mean, Van Dijk played quite well, but you have to be concerned when you concede 2 goals that were so sloppy. And then I have to say, they could have gone 3-0 down. Juan Mata's chance is a big chance. I know that at the end of the game you'll point towards the attempts and shots on target, and it will read that Manchester United have had a lot less than Liverpool, but Manchester United...
Corners as well. Yeah.
But Manchester United had big chances. The Mata chance is a big chance, and I'm not sure what Van Dijk was doing on that one. So I think Jurgen Klopp will just have that thing in the back of his mind that we could have conceded 3 goals, but 3 big chances. You can't win leagues, you can't win games or big competitions when you are soft-centred, and they have to fix that. They can't give goals away like that in big games, but they still played well, and they still looked a threat, and they are on the up. I mean, you know, and there's the question about Maurizio Pochettino this week and Jurgen Klopp. They haven't won a trophy at the 2 clubs, but they're in the right direction. They're doing the right things, and you can't always win a trophy. So, you know, I don't think Liverpool should be, and they should be disappointed, but I don't think they should be devastated leaving Old Trafford, in the sense that they think that they can't compete at this level, because they can, and they've shown that today. How
do you put this game between these 2 great clubs into context when what is happening in East Manchester? And they're romping away with it. I mean, do you forget about all that and just, like, perhaps we have in the commentary a little bit?
For a day. You have to try and forget about it
for a couple of hours.
Yeah, and then Kelly throws the league table up straight after the match, and you see a 13-point gap, and you think, oh, there you go, there's reality.
Yeah, and they've got still to play.
And they've still got to play on Monday, Manchester City. But they just had an absolutely sensational season. And Manchester United, probably about 6 weeks ago, they couldn't win the league from about 4 to 6 weeks ago. And when they lost the game here to Manchester City. So at that point, you have to then say, well, what's the best we can do? Well, you could adopt the attitude that we forget about this season, but that's not the way to look at it. Jose Mourinho, these players have to win a title, or else they won't be at the club in 2-3 years' time. They have to win a title. That's the standard. The money that's been spent, they've got to get closer. So this last 3 months has to be used to build momentum, to get a run together, to build a team. It's individuals. There's signs in this last 2 matches that there's a team there, and Mata's become more important, actually, to connect the team. It looks to me like you've got Rashford, you've got Martial, you've got Lukaku, but they haven't got that glue. that just knits it together. And Mata, to be fair to him now, looking at him, looks like he might become a very important player, particularly
Because
Pogba.
with Michael Carrick now bowing out, who was the glue.
Michael Carrick, Pogba has got sort of the ability to sort of connect back to front, but Mata certainly has got the composure to hold the ball, to allow those players to make their runs, so that they can get up the pitch and then get into a point whereby they can play one-on-one. Because they need to be one-on-one. You see with Rashford today, Alexis, Lukaku, get them one-on-one in around the edge of the box. They're probably as good as you're going to get. However, to get the ball into those situations as many times as possible with quality, you need someone to put the ball there to them and deliver it to them. And Juan Mata did really well on Monday night when he came, and I thought he changed the game. I know many people said Rashford did. I thought Mata played equally as big a role, and today he's done well. Playing off the right-hand side, but he's done well.
No rant this week?
No rants. No rants really. I think that this fixture, the fans of these clubs are brought up not to like each other. It's one of the first things that you're taught as a Manchester United and a Liverpool fan. You don't like this lot. You don't want them to win. And they are great clubs. And the last 3 or 4 fixtures have been unacceptable in the nature of how these teams should play. And that's not saying you can never have a 0-0, you can never have a 1-1. Of course you can between these great clubs. But there has to be excitement, entertainment, passion, fight, spirit. There were tackles in that game today. There were tackles, many tackles. There was great defending. There were some mistakes. There were some good goals. So that's what I would expect in a Manchester United game. I would expect there to be an intent about the game, whether it be in its defending, whether it be in the tackling, the running. And the last 2 or 3 have been so disappointing. And that game today sort of shifted it up a level, and that's good for us. It's good for both clubs. That's what both fans wanted to see. Like I say, Liverpool fans still in this ground behind us will be disappointed. But they're singing because actually they've seen the team play quite well. They've not been brilliant in the final third. They've not unlocked the door, but they've pressed, and they'll feel as though they deserve better in the game.
As our friend Graham Souness would say, a proper game. And
yes.
Thanks, Gary, for a proper podcast.
Thank you.
Podcast.
Thank you.